It's called the Iceman Cometh Challenge. It's in northern Michigan, fairly close to where I grew up, but it's an enormous race. There'd be thousands of racers from around the world that come to this thing. And I did it in 2000, so 24 years ago. And I've been kind of funny about events the last few years, but I couldn't get this one out of my head. And so finally, I'm just like, I'm going to sign up and we'll, we'll see what happens. So I've got till November to get ready and we'll see.
I think there's a principle we need to talk about with this. You started before the recording here. How did you put it?
Yeah, I just did a thing,
I did a thing.
I decided to sign up, and it's something I've been kind of fussing over for a while, even last season, last fall when I was still pedaling around on the trails and I was hearing people talk about, yeah, I'm getting ready for Iceman and that, it's this big thing. And it's like, oh man, I remember that. And it was so cool and so hard. And so I'm doing it.
I'm going to read a quote here. It's from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Here's his quote: "Once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen."
Mm, I like that. It's a positive way to look at it.
Well, and I think you've happened onto something that we need to talk about because it really applies to a lot of things in life. Okay. Um,
Sure.
I posted the other day a question. Do you like exercise? How did I put it? Do you like just exercising, or do you like training for an event?
Okay.
And the net result is pretty much the same. You're exercising. I think I put it. I can't remember how I put it. I'll have to look. But anyway, exercising for exercising's sake because you're supposed to, or training for an event that you've made a decision. Back to this quote: when you make a decision, the universe, just really sets you up so that you can get that thing. And the fact that you signed up for something, you committed to it, you made a decision to it.
I
Now,
paid a lot of money for it
you paid a
also.
lot of money. Well, you've got skin in the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've
Yeah,
got skin
exactly.
in the
Skin in the
game.
game.
Gym membership, you can kind of talk yourself out of that, but you paid a lot of money, and whether you exercise or don't, whether you show up or don't, you paid out the money. It's gone.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Um,
Yes.
so tell me your mindset now that you've made that decision this morning. Hey, I did a thing. I signed up
Yeah.
for a race. Now that you've made that decision, what's your mindset as far as your exercise?
So my answer is not going to be what you might think it
I
is
It is what it is.
because because I've learned some hard lessons about this. Um, from 2009 to 2016, I raced triathlon. And my mentality was that I'm going to do these hard things because it's going to make me better. And I'm going to put skin in the game. I'm going to pay money and I'm going to do these events. And they were multiple events for the season. And I'm going to train and it's going to make me a better. I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to be in shape. But the mental work involved in such a training regimen is going to make me a better person, a better worker, and a better human, hopefully, and maybe a more disciplined and intentional dad and husband and all of that kind of stuff. But what I found is that because of my kind of obsessive personality, perhaps. You know, I get pretty consumed with what I was doing, and I was leaving my people behind, and I had to stop or I was going to lose them. I was lost in the selfishness of my own pursuit, and so I quit for a long time. You know, here it is, 2024, and aside from um, a half marathon a few years ago, I haven't signed up for anything. And so for me to sign up for this thing, part of the anxiety about doing so was making sure that I don't behave like that person back then and that I do this very differently. So, yeah, I'm going to try to get ready, and I don't want to kill myself or fail badly because I'm going to go through a bunch of effort to do this event, but I'm also more determined to not leave my people behind, especially Angie and Brandon, because let's be honest, this is a selfish pursuit. And if I get it, you know, out of control, like my nature might have been in the past, then I'm just going to make a mess, and I don't want to do that. So there's a different kind of challenge on top of getting ready for the event that I'm going to be working through this year.
But your exercise has application to the training. I love the lesson that you just taught us because life can get out of balance, whether it's training for a triathlon, you know, your pursuit of your career. I mean, it can be a variety of things. We can get off balance. I've heard people talk about a wheel, and you've got different roles in that wheel, and sometimes we take it out of balance. You know, to your point, you know, your athletic self on that point of the wheel got a little elongated and therefore out of
Yes.
balance. Um, so yeah. So tell me, have you thought this through? How can you apply? Let me form my question better here. Well, maybe that's good. How can you apply that lesson to making sure that, I mean, we're always out of balance. I mean, something craves something, you know, there's an
Yeah.
event in our family, we have to go pay attention to that. And by leaving that, you know, you leave it out of balance a little bit. But, you know, let's take that lesson you just taught us and say, okay, how can I apply that to everything here and not come out of balance too much? Because you've got to give some attention to your training,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know, and therefore you kind of put yourself out of balance. So how can you take that and say, okay, I'm going to be very careful, and in these other roles that I play on my wheel, how you know, talk to me about some ideas there, and maybe you haven't
Okay.
thought it through, but you know,
No, I have a lot actually. If I'm gonna obsess about something else, maybe it's this. So, um, firstly, it's a matter of my personal values and priorities. I have to know what those are first. And if I say that my values and priorities are for my roles as husband and dad and Jesus follower first, then applying that means that everything else needs to defer to that when they collide. So even today, when I'm not training for something special, if there's something that comes up that interferes with what I might normally do, like my Saturday morning routine with the F3 gang, for example. Um, in the past, like in triathlon training, I may have said, "Hey, this is my big training day. This is what's happening," and I would miss. Okay, I'm not going to the family function, or I'm not going to the whatever because I'm training. But today, I'm going to say, "Oh, well, I'm going to go do the family thing and forsake the the training event that was planned because this is what's more important to me. I didn't do that in the past. So today, that's what's going to happen. And I'm going to have to regularly check myself to make sure that when such a conflict happens, that I'm talking through that and saying, hey, this is what I had planned, but I'm prepared to defer that because this is more important. So that's the first big change right there.
I love that. You know, you said you're setting your priorities, and that takes some conscious thought. You know, hey, I signed up for an event, and if you don't have that standard, that measurement in place of what's priority in your life, you know, that event can take that priority. Um,
Yes.
you know, I have a mentor that says you can be acted on or you can act.
Mm,
Okay,
yeah,
you know,
very
you can
much.
be you can be an object and be acted on. You can make yourself an object. This phone will not do anything unless I initiate it.
Right.
It is built to be acted upon. Okay.
Yes.
Um, I think I think we as people sometimes defer our choice, our I call it agency. You know, we are gifted with this beautiful divine potential, and and we you know we oh, what's the word I want? We abdicate it.
Mm,
We totally abdicate our potential, our and we can make ourselves an object. And so that where I'm headed with this is that conscious effort. You kind of took a step back. You made a conscious decision of these are my priorities. These are my values. This is my standard. And whatever comes, I'm going to put through that filter of my
yes, absolutely.
of those things that I've put in place. You know, whatever it is, you know, work, training, you know, friends, whatever comes, you know, even tragedy. Sometimes that will come through that filter. Well, who's most important, you know, and what's most important. And I love that what a great lesson that is for all of us, because if we consciously step back and say, this is what I've got in place, and then filter it through there, that needs to be our obsession, is to stick to that. And we call it integrity, you know, right? You know, we
Yes.
stand, I think we misinterpret the word integrity and call it, you know, it is synonymous with being honest, but that's because you have a value of being an honest person, and your integrity is to that value, not the honesty. It's to that value that you've chosen, and that's what I mean by being integral to your priorities, to your values. And so what a great lesson, Chad.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm smiling because you said my magic word this week. And for anyone who would hear this conversation, this happens all the time where I'll be reading something this week, or maybe it's the sermon I hear on last Sunday, or something else addresses the very word or topic that we talk about here. And that just happened because the sermon was on integrity. And all week I've been working on a script for another mental fitness video about integrity. And so I've been focused and thinking about integrity all week. And you just said it as it applies to what we're talking about here today. And it's absolutely correct. You're spot on. And it's easy for us to it's easy for us to say that we have integrity until we look at what integrity means. And then it's like, oh, well, maybe I don't have quite as much integrity as I think I do. Because surely I can see it in somebody else that, oh boy, they do not have integrity, but surely I do. And man, that was
that's a
going to be
bad
the other point is the self-awareness that's required to recognize where we fall short in our integrity. is paramount to us actually aligning what we believe in and how we behave, closing that gap so we actually have integrity.
You know, it's like humility. I can look at you and say, Chad, I'm humble.
Right? Yeah, I know. I
And
love
boom, I
that.
just broke it.
Yes.
um, I really, I love what you just said. I really think it's a journey on these values. Pick any value that you really hold closely, like courage. Yeah, I'm courageous. Are you really?
Yeah.
Are you really? Uh,
Yeah.
and so I think all of the values they're a journey. They're this relentless pursuit of fulfilling that and adjusting ourselves to that and holding ourselves to that standard. Um, and I don't mean that in a bad way, to say that we'll fail all the time. It's just this constant. I think you grow to a level of humility and then find that you're not humble, and so you grow to another level. And integrity, same thing. You grow to this level of integrity and, hey, I've got this pretty good. Well, wait a minute. I need to go to
There's
here.
always more.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, and that takes me back to what I believe as far as our divine potential. I think it's infinite. And to say that I'm
Right.
here, to say that I've arrived at this place, I'm here. I think you discount that that I call it a gift. That potential that you've been given, that infinite potential, is a
Mm.
gift. And to say that I've arrived, I'm humble, Chad.
Yeah.
I think I think you fly in the face of that and discount that beautiful gift that we've been given.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
That divine.
fantastic. It's so true that um, we're all lacking in integrity, lest we be self-deceived, right? At some level, we're lacking, and it is a journey, and I think that's part of it. I mean, if this side of eternity is our practice, then there's always going to be a place to go. We're always going to have more to do to close that gap. And so rather than being discouraged by that, I want to take the lesson that we've previously spoken about the gap and the gain and instead measure, how far have I come? And geez, even just spitting out today, the difference in my mindset about training for an event, I think speaks to some level of growth in my personal integrity because I'm seeing it very different now. And hopefully it's better because I'm more closely aligned with what I actually believe. And that's the hope.
That's beautiful, and that hope is so important. Do you think that your integrity with your training, or excuse me, with your exercise, because now you're training, do you think your integrity is a little more um, whole, a little more sharpened, a little more um, what do I want to say here? Is it a little more brighter for you? Is it a little more clear?
Um,
Speak to that, and
yeah, I did.
maybe it's not. I don't know.
I think it's like what you were saying about humility. It's the more that I think about what it means, the more I realize I have to grow in that area. You know, the the notion that I've arrived at integrity is utter foolishness.
Well, yeah,
And so and same with humility or courage or fill in the blank. Um, and I think that's a key part of the mental fitness that journey that I'm pursuing is recognizing that I'm never going to arrive. Death will come and then I will arrive. But until then, I've got work to do to get there. And that doesn't discourage me anymore because I'm looking at how far I have come and knowing that, that God is with me and he's for me and he's helping me to grow in these things. And because I can see the progress in it, I have motivation and encouragement to keep going. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but
Oh yeah.
I guess I would like to think that my awareness of integrity is different than it was. And so, yeah, hopefully it's a little sharper.
So you've been thinking about integrity this week. It sounds like
Yeah.
it's been your word. Um, share some of your thoughts and your discoveries that you've had this week with
Um,
it.
well, let's take a couple of for instances. Um, hey Chad, do you have integrity? Sure. Okay. Um, you probably believe that it's wrong um, to cheat or to steal, right? Sure. Yeah. Okay. So have you ever taken office supplies home from your work? I mean,
A free
I might
pen.
have a pen that says the company logo on it that maybe doesn't belong to me, right? So by definition, is that stealing? Sure. How about have you ever been at the checkout and the cashier gives you too much change? Do you go back into the store and say so and try to make it right, or do you keep the extra few dollars or whatever it turned out to be? I've been on both sides of that, honestly. Um, how about lying? Nobody likes to think that they're a liar, but has somebody close to you or somebody that you trust, ever asked you how you're doing and you answer, I'm fine, when you know fully well that you're literally dying on the inside, right? This is integrity,
Right.
right? So, yeah, we've got work to do.
Well, and here again, it's that step back and saying, okay, what are my priorities with integrity? And we'll be at different levels. I mean, you're probably at a different level than I am with integrity. You're probably at a different level with humility than I am. Courage, we're probably at different levels. I don't know. But what's important is where am I at in relation to me? You
Yeah, we're not comparing to somebody else, and that's always going to get you in trouble.
yep,
Um, but again, this is a self-awareness exercise.
yep.
You know, how am I doing against younger me,
Last
and
week,
where do I expect to go? Yeah,
last week, me. Uh,
yeah, pretty much.
well, I'm glad we found your word through this discussion today. That's
Yeah, yeah. I have some plans to today, hopefully, to finish writing that and then tune it up and hopefully have it published for later this fall or later this spring, I should say. I'm working in April right now.
well, that's good. We just began March. You're already ahead of us with your intentions. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to stay ahead of it. I'm very quickly running the time it takes me to put one of these together because I don't set specific deadlines. Um, that margin is shrinking pretty quick. So, the stuff that it comes out every Monday. Okay, a new one comes every Monday for the last year and a half, and for a while I was 10 or 12 ahead, and now I'm only 3 or 4 ahead. So I'm starting to feel like it's going to catch up to me.
Well, step back, make it a priority, and see that's that out of balance thing. You're feeling out of
Yeah,
balance. It's kind of an open loop in your head, and you're feeling that out of balance
right.
as that piece of your role there, or that role that is a piece of your wheel there. So yeah,
Yeah.
I have lots.
Well,
I have lots of those that have little jagged edges on my wheel.